Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, today, from Mass Live and the Republican by way of Connecticut Public Radio, we are talking to somebody from Western Mass, born and raised just a few towns over from me, who, as I said to her mother yesterday, she could have fit in between the late 50s run of Federico Fellini films, considering her performance in the season 2 show, The White Lotus. You might know her from her work at Longmeadow High School as Dorothy, where she really started to consider being an actor after years and years of singing in Western Massachusetts. She's gone on to be a Netflix darling, to be someone that can be interviewed by Jimmy Fallon and show off her brilliant charisma and wit and comedic timing, as well as talk about how she kicked Jennifer Coolidge accidentally in the face. You know her, you love her, you appreciate her. And thank God she's going to be doing a film with Julianne Moore soon. Nocturnal Animals is a perfect film to me. I love A Single Man with Tom Ford. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, Meghann Fahy. Meghann, how are you today?
Oh, wow, that's really quite the introduction. Thank you for that. I'm really well. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, before we started recording, I was talking to another Western Mass alum about Dawson's Creek and the OC, so I'm doing pretty good. But, yeah, just to get started and, move forward for the adoration I already have for Cindy Rubin's best friend growing up, Tammy Fahy. Next to Diane Keaton, your mom, Tammy, might be the sweetest woman I've ever talked to, aside from my own mom and Amy Adams one time.
Wow, Amy Adams, that's cool. I love her.
Dude, I think that's why I mentioned Nocturnal Animals besides Julianne Moore in that intro. Yeah, she's to get you guys in a picture together or anything would be a miracle, and I'd love it. But tell us about your love for your mama, growing up in Longmeadow, and what makes Tammy such a human miracle. Would you consider her a pre-Instagram Zen mommy?
I don't think I would call her a Zen mommy. Okay. I think one of her adorable charms is that she is more a protective mommy than anything, and that can sometimes be the opposite of Zen. But she's the best. No, she's been so supportive of, my whole family has, but especially her, of my career and me wanting to sort of take a non-conventional path in my life since I was a kid. So I'm endlessly grateful to her for that.
Hell yeah. And yeah, Zen mommy, I didn't think so. She really did. She was just giving Annie Hall vibes yesterday. But your father, John, who was in the background, I think they were getting dinner ready. But your dad, John, suggested the name Meghann after your birth. And your mom was really debating what names to pick, looking at this big-eyed, brilliant future A-list star in Hollywood. But after your dad suggested it, Tammy started saying to me, with those blue eyes, she does just look like a Meghann. So did you have any nicknames growing up? And as a random thing I always do on the show, if you could have any other name, what would you pick and why, Meghann?
Oh, that's such an interesting question, and information I didn't have about my name before.
Oh shit, okay.
I don't know what I would pick for a name for myself if it wasn't Meghann. I really don't. I've never actually thought about it. Have you? Is that something you've thought about? You must have, because if you ask people this question, I'm sure you already have your answer ready to go.
Yeah, I go on tangents between Harvey, if I would change it, and as a big Eminem fan, which I'd like to discuss in a few minutes with you, Slim Shady, I've got some monikers.
Yeah, I feel like you'd wear Slim well.
Thank you.
What was the other question? Now I can't remember it.
Well, no, if you had any nicknames growing up or,
yeah. I did have, and some of my friends in high school called me Mego, Maggie. My family calls me, Maggie a lot. So, yeah, Mego and Maggie were two popular ones.
Awesome. Okay. And I know sometimes these questions are like, what the hell? Is this a Lewis Carroll novel? But I was trying to refrain from asking about your pinpoint accuracy of being able to snipe people's nipples through T-shirts. which I guess, yeah, that was...
Well, sometimes the talent, it just chooses you. What can I say?
I'm telling you, it's truly an art form. People don't understand it. But to get more serious, in 2009, from Mass Live, you stated that your family is a family with, quote, music in its blood, and you told our publication that your father, John, and your sweet darling mother, Tammy, accompanied you to New York City for your first audition that August, then your second, then your third, and even your fourth on an Eminem string up to Encore of Perfection. So what I want to ask you is, considering your parents raised you on Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Journey, and even Poison, what are some of your favorite songs right now? And as a personal anecdote, severely caffeinated, do you remember singing at Cindy Rubin's in Hamden for your Girl Scout troop growing up?
Wow, do I remember singing for the Girl Scout troop? Do you know what? I'm sure I do. There were so many birthday parties and Girl Scout gatherings and hockey games at that point in my life. They all sort of blend together. But what I am listening to right now, let's see. I just kind of got into Lizzie McAlpine. Hadn't listened to too many of her songs previously. Gracie Abrams, a big fan of hers. Always a little bit of Casey Musgraves in there too. So those would be a couple of the gals that are on my mix.
Hell yeah. I got Half a Moon Crescent Halo above my head right now. And I don't really know where to start with Gracie Abrams, but I know she's big in like Taylor Swift lore right now, so I should kind of get into that. But all right, thank you for answering that one, because I know these questions are like giant lengths. But you've gone on the record. That's great. Okay, thank you. Feeling slim.
Very unique.
I'm trying, Meghann. Sincerely, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Oh man. Okay. Well,
I feel very good about it.
I'm trying, but feeling good now. You've gone on the record to state that you didn't even consider acting until you got the role of Dorothy in the Longmeadow High production of The Wizard of Oz. But your sweet Diane Keaton-esque mother, Tammy, told me that you did a production when you were younger called How to Eat Like a Child. And she gave an anecdote in detail where the audience members were like, and I believe her, talking out loud saying, "Oh my God, look at that one over there with the big eyes singing her little solo." Adding, quote, "She was just so precious, even at a young age, you know?" So, do you remember this pre-Wizard of Oz performance? And also, what did you want to be when you're growing up? I know you've been singing since 8 and were a part of the Dan Kane Singers.
Yeah, singing was always what I wanted to do. I think the acting thing sort of happened much later for me, but I do remember How to Eat Like a Child. It was one of my first experiences kind of like doing a camp like that and meeting kids and, learning a thing and then presenting it. And it was sort of like a formative experience for me. I remember I was really shy as a kid, like painfully shy. I had a lot of performance anxiety. And I just remembered, like, once I started, I just couldn't get enough of the feeling of that. And so I was still very, very shy for many years after that, and still am sometimes. But that was the first time I really knew what it felt like to kind of, I don't know, it's just that energy that everybody always talks about when they talk about performing whatever their art form is. And that was, sort of my first taste of that.
Hell yeah. I'm glad the taste was sweet and not bitter, because, good God, dude, like, your trajectory right now is what people would kill for, and you deserve it. Like, deservedly.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah, seriously. To dovetail off of that, to talk about myself, my two
Please
favorite...
do.
Oh, dude, all right, be careful. We're going to start talking about Bridget Jones's Diary in a few. But my two favorite movies are When Harry Met Sally and Buffalo 66. I love films that are written both, Rob Reiner, Nora Ephron, Alison Bagnall, Vincent Gallo, and they both paint a certain portrait of social dynamics between men and women, which, good God, White Lotus Season 2, again, I go to Fellini's 8.5. But I've scoured through the internet to find some of your favorite movies, and I'm coming up as short as Jennifer Coolidge did during the season 2 White Lotus finale. So, yeah, I know. But do you have a...
That's funny.
Do you have a favorite movie or a comfort film you've seen more than others?
Oh, yeah, for sure. By the way, I don't think that you could come up as short as she did in that moment.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much,
yeah, sure
Meghann.
thing.
Thanks.
Well, I will say that around the holidays, my number one is really Jim Carrey's The Grinch. That's one that I revisit frequently. I think it's an actually really incredible performance. I talk about it all the time. I actually do. I think you should be nominated retroactively for an Oscar. But That's just me. So that would be my holiday classic. And then beyond that, I mean, Notting Hill probably.
Oh man.
I love those classic rom-coms as well. But yeah, those would probably be my top 2 faves.
She grew up in Long Meadow, the daughter of Tammy and her dad John. Dude, that's my mom's favorite movie. I've seen her cry to that press conference scene so many times. Oh
my God, it's a perfect film.
And do you believe this is off for, I'll keep it in, it's cool. Do you believe the whole story it's based on Uma Thurman's life at all? Do you believe that?
I actually have never heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, all right. Going away from that, should have kept the coffee in. But you and I share an affinity for Mike White, but also another White who is good with the mic, Marshall Mathers. To me, Eminem is like the Andrew Dice Clay of hip-hop by way of Bob Dylan storytelling, and where I, to this day, still have a crush on 8 Mile Brittany Murphy to the point she's my screensaver. Okay.
Same. You and I both.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Love Casey Musgraves, but you stated you had a big crush on 8 Mile Eminem, which contextually, sometimes in the right light, why not? The beanie and the headphones, why not? But you know all the words to Stan. I've seen the proof. I joked about it with your mom yesterday. So what I want to ask you, in a world where man, this is awesome. In a world where some people still struggle to see hip-hop as an art form, what makes Stan stand out from other rap songs to you? And in your opinion, what makes an artist authentic, Meghann?
Thank you. I think the thing that people really loved about Stan is that it's just from a storytelling perspective. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine about it recently who said that in school they actually studied it in a class in a performing arts school, and the question the teacher posed was, is this a poem or is this a song? And I guess basically everybody had come up with it's a poem, which I just think, like, for someone in that sort of arena, I guess we'll say, to make a piece of art like that is being studied in classes and talked about. And, I think it was such an incredible feat of his. And especially just, of course, I think the comment that it makes on celebrity and sort of how he wove himself into it and played both parts. It's just endlessly impressive, I think, structurally and basically in all the other ways as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And just because I'd like to know, when you said thank you, was that someone just popping in? Were you getting a coffee or what was going on?
I can't drink coffee this late in the day, but I was getting a delivery. And so they had just knocked on the door, and I like to throw a thank you out.
Hell yeah. Good for you. That's appreciative. I hope you got Doritos Locos Tacos or something, but your mom says you take good care of yourself, so I don't think it's Taco Bell.
It's probably, no, it's not Taco Bell. I'm actually more, Taco Bell never really was my go-to. In high school, I was a Wendy's girl, if you can believe it.
With the honey mustard for the nuggets?
Oh, God, yeah.
Dude, okay. Well, that's just good to hear as a Western Mass representative. Very good. Okay. Damn, okay. Well, going from Wendy's, and I do believe it as a Wendy's boy, your early career is just banger after banger, from Hannah O'Connor, One Life to Live, Catherine Pulitzer in Newsies, Natalie Goodman in Next to Normal, and in my opinion, as I've said twice, the highlight of White Lotus Season 2, Daphne Sullivan. And you got so many people in that season. You got F. Murray Abraham doing callbacks to Gandolfini. Who cares? Meghann Fahy. Do you have a dream role or a concept of a character you have not had the opportunity to play yet that you'd like to?
I actually really don't. I'm not a person. I've went through a phase of feeling really guilty about not having something really specific that I can say when this question gets asked. But I really don't. I feel like my approach to this whole thing has more been sort of go with the flow, because so much of it has happened in a way that I was surprised by. So to me, it's almost like every time I have the opportunity to work on something new, I'm kind of like, oh my God, again, like still I get to do this? That's so crazy. So no, I don't really. I just kind of, I'm excited and open, and there's so many things that I haven't done that, kind of makes it easy to think about, because there's just, I'd like to do a little bit of everything, honestly.
Yeah, as you should. Why not have the Taylor Swift or Bob Dylan-esque dynamic that you have? You should be able to have your cake and eat it too without the coffee in the afternoon. But yeah, you got so many projects I'm hyped to see. From Drop on Instagram, I hit them up being like, hey, I'm excited to see this, to Unbreakable Boy, which was in somewhat of a development hell for a few years, but you've got this upcoming Netflix series, Sirens, that your mom and I were Googling last night to make sure what was happening with it. As a diehard Julianne Moore fan, I'm wicked excited to see that. I stress wicked. But with all the California wildfire happenings, and I've been following you religiously on Instagram. I love when you post, and you've been very supportive of stuff going on over there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
your upcoming film Rebuilding had a terrific as well as truly relevant reception at Sundance. And as someone that you just said, like, hey, I went through a little bit of guilt, man. Like, these opportunities keep happening, but I don't have that dream character. Tell us about Sundance. How'd it go, and what does Rebuilding mean to you?
Sundance was wonderful. It's such a special festival, and just even in like it being in Salt Lake, like it's so beautiful and it feels very specific, just even like vibe wise. And Rebuilding was such a beautiful movie, and Max Walker Silverman, who wrote it and directed it, is so unique as a creator. And it was sort of sad that the film sort of ended up being so relevant with everything that's been going on in LA. But I think that it's kind of amazing that the film came out in such timing, because it really offers a message of hope and focuses a lot on community and how we can, as communities, lean on each other and use each other to sort of get us through the hardest moments of life. And I think that message of hope that the film, really wants the audience to take away is something that is really super needed right now. So I was very proud to be there with that film.
Hell yeah, dude, as you should. And then going from that confident response, because it is, like you said, it's a personal story and a huge part of that filmmaker's life. With the Super Bowl this weekend, and you being such a super big Taylor Swift fan to the point where you cried when you met her, I'd like to ask you to place your bets on this next question. With the halftime performance artist Kendrick Lamar performing, a guy who did a feature on Taylor's seminal Mount Holyoke dorm room classic Bad Blood, what are the odds she will perform this Sunday and make a cameo? What do you think, Meghann?
I think the odds are sort of low, I have to be honest. Maybe that's a little bit of a pessimistic bet, but I just think that she will want to keep it about, him, and maybe that means that she would choose to not perform. Plus, she probably just wants to have a drink at halftime, and I mean, who can blame a girl,
Yeah, especially with all it's like not a controversial time to be a Taylor Swift fan, but with the adamant success she's had and the amount of people crapping on her because they cut to her during a football game? Like, who cares, bro? It's like insane to me, I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's not like she's the one who's asking to be taped, it's, but, I don't know. It's hard to be in a public eye. I don't really have to deal with that. Obviously, I'm not anywhere near, as recognizable as Taylor Swift, but if there's one thing that I've garnered over the last few years, it's that I just genuinely don't have much of a desire to be that famous. I mean, I think it's just really it can be a really tough, thing sometimes. So I've got a lot of empathy for people who have to navigate that on a day-to-day basis, for sure.
Let alone those that also share that early shyness and still shine brightly like yourself. Hell yeah, dude. I get that. I only got 2 more questions for you. The last one is something I've asked everybody from Zach Kreger, the director of Barbarian, co-creator of Whitest Kids You Know, to rapper Asher Roth, who wrote I Love College and said, hey, man, that's a really great question. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, to go from that to Meghann is really awesome. And Tammy Fahy before this is like the Godfather to Godfather 2, White Lotus Season 2. Okay, in an interview with W Magazine, you stated that you are a huge fan of the OC and, quote, claim to be very, very split between Ben McKenzie and Adam Brody. And,
this is true.
I just got to say, folks, before I was recording, similarly to me discussing Iggy Pop and certain musical aspects of sexuality and David Bowie with Zach Kreger, me and Meghann were talking about Dawson's Creek. She stopped watching it for a bit, and she was talking a little bit about how she does love the OC, which I relate big time as a Dawson's Creek fan because I'm constantly split between Michelle Williams and Katie Holmes, and sometimes Pacey, depending on how I'm feeling. I can relate big time, so I just got to ask, considering this is your interview, and I was not a part of Mike White's incredible White Lotus Season 2, I'd like to ask you about upcoming Bridget Jones star, the incredibly talented Mr. Leo. Is he more Seth Cohen, Meghann, or Ryan Atwood?
I would say a perfect mix of the two, which is one of the many reasons that he's my favorite person.
Okay, that was a perfect answer, and that for a second I was like, oh, I'm talking to her mom. That, even the way that was said, holy crap. Damn, yeah, that's awesome. All right, I don't even want to pry into personal stuff, and yeah, just your mom yesterday was like, oh my God, and he's so lovely, treats her so well, and it's great. But okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll cut
Really
that out. But so yeah, just the last question. Thank you for answering that. Sincere and in one sentence too, but I'm hoping for the amount of description of that 13-minute Taylor Swift song I can't remember the name of that her fans say is her best. Meghann Fahy, if you could, as such a terrific performer, singer, actress, and former Cindy Rubin Girl Scouts alum, please describe in as much detail as possible your ideal perfect breakfast. If you're having bacon, would it be crisp? Is it turkey bacon? I know you're not having coffee in the afternoon. Would you have coffee in the morning? Would it be black as a moonless night? To make a Twin Peaks reference, rest in peace, David Lynch. Would you even have breakfast? Vincent Gallo told me he doesn't even have breakfast and he's just doing some old William Burroughs-esque thing. Meghann, please tell the people, would you have Wendy's chicken nuggets? What would your perfect breakfast be?
I actually already know my answer to this question because it is also a question I like to ask people. Actually, the question I really like to ask the most is last meal. But anyway, for breakfast, yeah, cool. I am having breakfast. I'm a big breakfast person. I don't really eat meat, but I have to say, one of my cheats is turkey bacon, extra crispy. So for me, I think it would have to be an omelet with cheddar cheese, onions, and peppers. Hash browns, crispy. Turkey bacon, crispy. Side of avocado. Cholula hot sauce. But any hot sauce, really. But I guess Cholula would be my first fave. And then, honestly, I like a table pancake to share because I can't really eat a lot of sweets for breakfast, but I like to have a little bite. So I'm going chocolate chip table pancake, no whipped cream, extra syrup, and that's my final answer.
She's locking it in, folks. Poor Regis Philbin voice, I gotta say. Sounded a little bit too much like Trump there. I'm sorry, it's the end of the interview. I'm excited. Meghann, thank you for breaking that down. I've done this question for 12 years, and I'd love to know the specifics of what kind of peppers are in the omelet, but I don't really care. You got a lot going on. I think you should relax for this afternoon. Dude, thank you for being yourself. Thank you for representing this community, and as someone that adores Mike White as much as I should, being comfortable in my own skin, Eminem references, I gotta say, I sincerely appreciate these, like, really 25 minutes that you gave me. So just thank you so much for this time.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're the wonderful interviewer. It was a blast.
Oh man, I'll go get Wendy's today to celebrate. Yeah.